Welcome to the One Zen Academy Fitness Podcast. Everything health, wellness, fitness and performance all under one roof. My name's Kieran. I've got over 15 years worth of experience within personal training, health, wellness and sports rehabilitation. For more information, go to www.onezenacademy.com. Thank you. Hi guys, and welcome to the One Zen Fitness Podcast. Hope this finds you well. Today I'm joined by Damien Massias, who is a coach of many different varieties. He is an experienced relationship and dating professional, if that's what you can say. Basically, he helps people overcome things, get together with others, and create self-realization. You could argue he is a bit of a modern-day philosopher. I always see him in coffee shops, funnily enough, but he's also written a fantastic book called The Magpie Effect, which is available on Amazon. I bought the Kindle version and then I bought the audio version. The audio version is very good. I bought that because I do a lot of commuting in my car, and it's a good way of making the time more productive. But what I found was I listened to the book twice because there are so many gems and truths within the book. It's about how social media has encompassed our lives, the good and the bad. It's very objective, but it will certainly ring home a whole bunch of truths for you guys listening. And you'll see this through the interview. You'll hear Damien explains certain things, and I promise you'll sit there and think, "Oh shit, yeah, that's me." It's quite enlightening. Good book. He's a great laugh. Good sense of humor. And what more can be said about Damien Massias? On a personal note, we have our One Zen Academy Level 3 Diploma in Personal Training coming up. Starts 27th of July. So if you're listening to this in about a year's time, obviously, yeah, that's past. But we currently have 15% off on our website. So you can change your career, you can become a personal trainer with 15% off, which from an already awesome price. If you go to onezenacademy.com and book, you'll start your new career at the end of July, which is pretty awesome. We also do online personal training and health coaching, and we also do rehabilitation. So if you have any niggling injuries, anything like that, we can definitely help you with that. Please tell your friends about the podcast. Without your support, this wouldn't exist. I am a one-man band. I am completely self-funded, so it really helps if you can subscribe on iTunes or Spotify or Podbean or wherever you listen to this. Give us a 5-star review, and if you could write a review, that would be fantastic. And for every review that gets written, an angel gets its wings, which is always an added bonus. So without further ado, I give you Damien Massias.
Purely because I enjoyed the book, but at the same time it just got me thinking, which I guess is quite a good thing for you. It got me thinking quite deeply about not necessarily just behaviours that I may have had, but now I see those behaviours kind of out in the wider world. But I guess for the listeners, if you start off by giving us context, tell us about your journey. What has led you to kind of do what you do now, and take it from there.
It's a funny one. I fell into it really. So my dad was some sort of coach. Without really realizing it, he gave us some tools, when you discuss things with your parents and they explain you things, etc. At the time I wasn't even aware about it either, but it's only later on in life, so I worked through chairways, etc., where I guess those tools became quite practical. So I ended up essentially speaking to a lot of people and speaking about their lives and the whys and the hows, and I had the tools to sort of help them. So at first it wasn't a conscious decision, but then more and more people were saying to me, "Oh, why aren't you a coach? You know, why don't you do therapy? Why don't you help, etc." And then with time, I then decided, you know what, maybe this is my calling.
Okay.
So I've done quite a few qualifications, because you don't have to have qualifications, but I think for me, you know, you almost have a duty of care, really.
Yeah.
It will almost be like being a personal trainer with no qualifications.
Plenty of those, yeah.
Yeah, of course. Of course. I think there's plenty of people doing plenty of things without qualifications.
Yeah.
Now, I understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand, especially when it comes to coaching. Essentially, the idea is to help people to see things differently, challenge them, etc. So realistically, you don't necessarily need a qualification. But to me, I think it was to gain credibility and gain more tools. And yeah, so I've done qualification, and I've been doing coaching now pretty much for the last 10 years, really.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, so you are, in essence, is it safe to say, would you call yourself a life coach?
Oh, it's a tricky one, because I do not like the term life coach at all. But I think unfortunately, it's the easiest one, you know, to sort of describe what I do.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, you could also say like a performance coach, a mindset coach, you know, almost a thinking coach, I guess.
Yeah.
But essentially, people come with things to work on, either changing things, working towards something, achieving a goal, and you basically help them to, you know, look through what it is that they want to do, create a potential better perspective, and then work towards it.
Okay. But okay, so what would you say in your experience as a coach? What would you say are the biggest barriers to for people to make change, whatever that change is?
I think the first one is a lack of awareness.
Yeah.
You know, so I've met so many people, even not just clients, but in general, where they don't even know that there is a possibility for them to move forward or change things, or they almost think, well, that's just life, isn't it? That, you know, everybody struggles. You know, is you know, I'm like everybody else kind of thing. So number one is awareness that actually it's possible to change.
Yeah.
You know, it's possible to create a plan. It's possible, you know, to work towards something. And then, of course, is the limiting belief. You know, if for example, so obviously I'm French, I've never written a book or anything before. So an easy limiting belief could have been, who am I to write a book?
Yeah.
You know, I can't write a book. I can barely speak English. I mean, how will I be able to write a book? And of course, depending on how strong your limiting belief is, and then the reinforcements that you do towards it, well, you're just not going to do it, are you?
Yeah, well, you know, your beliefs will drive behaviours. So, you know, if you if you generally believe you never write a book, then you'll never write a book.
No, of course, and that's the idea, you know. And so many people don't think they can actually control the way they think and what they think about. You know, and one of the example I always use with clients when I start working with them is a very simple one. Ideally, if they have kids, it works very, very well. But if they don't, they still get the idea.
Yeah.
You know, or you can use a friend as well. And you say, well, if you have a young kid and you're in bed and they come to you, you know, at 3 o'clock in the morning crying, telling you that there is a monster in the cupboard.
Yeah.
What would you tell them? So then the client always says, well, I'll tell them that it's not true. I'll tell them that, you know, I don't know, I'll defend the kid or whatever, you know. But the point is, they're changing the belief.
Yeah.
They are interrupting the thought pattern of the kid.
Yeah.
You know, because obviously the belief that the kid has is not helping. So therefore they change it. Or let's say your best friend who tells you, I can't change my job because I'm worthless anyway. Right. Nobody will turn around and say, you're right, you are worthless, you should stay in your job. So why do we speak to ourselves that way?
Yeah.
Why do we have those beliefs, you know, those potentially nasty beliefs, limiting beliefs, etc.? and they run, you know, they run riot in our heads, and we don't even try to sort of challenge them.
Yeah.
And we just play the card of, oh yeah, that's just me.
Yeah. So is that kind of the biggest thing you see, is just the really kind of self-limiting, or say self-limiting, they're just general belief structure when they come to, is that by far the biggest thing?
I mean, that's the bigger one. The second one is, of course, to, you know, once you understand better, differently, etc., is to you know, to apply, you know, so, you know, because you know, through being a personal trainer,
yeah,
you know, everybody wants to lose weight, but nobody wants to train.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a bit similar. You know, is how can you find a way that people are, you know, going to move forward without being too drastic. So, you know, it's not too overwhelming to start with, etc. But essentially, those are the two main ones, I would say. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. Have you read or heard of a guy called David Goggins, who wrote a book called Can't Hurt Me? He's an ex Navy SEAL.
I've heard of it, but I haven't read the book.
Read the book. It's in essence, it's almost exactly what you were saying, that, you know, this guy, by, you know, all accounts, life had it in for him. You know, he should have been a statistic, you know, he should have been a failure and this. But the overriding thing he talks about, and the overriding message throughout the whole book, is changing that belief, is changing that structure, how your mind actually works, but acknowledging that you need to work on it, and acknowledging that it is a belief rather than just being unconscious about it. And I guess I see that quite a lot in a lot of people that I speak to. You know, people are just unconscious about, oh, I didn't realise this was a belief I had. Do you see that in kind of when you're interviewing people, that they're just not aware of it?
And I think also it's as I was saying earlier, is a lot of people just think it's life.
Yeah.
You know, they just think it's the way it is. You know, they just. How many people do I know that, you know, will, for example, tell me, I don't know. So, you know, I hate my job. I don't like the way I look, but life could be worse. Or, you know, I'm not doing too bad, you know, at least I can put, you know, food on a plate and stuff like that, which is true, because one of my battle, you know, almost with sort of, I wouldn't say as far as modern society, but let's call it modern society. We now gone almost OTT with the positive thinking, and we should do more, we should do better, we should do bigger, stronger, faster. And that, on the other hand, is not helping either, because to me, one of the difference between potentially, well, let's call it back in the days and today, is back in the days, people were happy to work in a factory. People were happy to be, I don't know, a baker, a plumber, a teacher, whatever. Now, because, we'll talk about it later, but because of social media and all the pressure, people almost want to be famous. They want to have money. They want to be, you know, blah, blah, blah. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. But obviously, you don't find many Justin Bieber story. Yes. You know, it's one Justin Bieber every millions. So then you have so many people chasing things that just untrue almost, you know? Instead of saying, you know what, I don't know, I'm a teacher and I'm loving life, and I don't need to do 7 trips per year. I don't need to fly first class, and I don't need a Ferrari. Yeah. But that's the problem. So we, you know, we're gone into almost a world where with just way too many expectations. Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, is that what kind of has led you to write your book, the Magpie Effect? That was one of the reasons, yes, because I mean, what, 3 months ago? 3 months ago. A man came to me so I could coach his son. Yeah. His son is 16, and he truly believed they was going to be a millionaire by the age of 18. Right, okay. But a true belief. Now, again, yes, there are few stories around of youngsters that have managed to do so, etc. That's great. But that's only that's only few, and more importantly, you can't put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
But long story short, where did this come from? Social media.
Right.
Because he spent so much time on social media following certain accounts, certain people, etc. He created a belief that he too was going to do such and such and certain shots. Which is, of course, kind of like dangerous, because he didn't want to do his GCSE anymore.
Right.
Saying, I don't need it, I'll be a millionaire anyway. So that was one of the parts. Yeah, I just could see. So, same. I had clients who, said to me, I don't feel very attractive. Like I say in the book, and I said, okay, show me what's attractive. And 9 times out of 10, they'll go on social media and show me someone.
Yeah.
And I said, but imagine if you went on social media. I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, you could still see on magazines and TV, etc. But at least it's less in your face.
Yeah.
So that was definitely one of the reasons, which is unfortunately, because we choose what we follow, because we spend a lot of time on social media. I mean, in 2015, the average user would spend 5 years and 4 months of their life on social media. That's the average user, and that's 2015.
Wow.
I was talking to a friend of mine about 2 weeks ago, and he spends about 8 hours a day.
Wow. Okay.
Like I say in the book, simple equation. I pick what I want to follow. So let's say, argument's sake, let's stay on a fitness, because obviously that's your field. So let's say I want to look better. Let's say I'm slightly overweight. So I follow X amount of accounts of, let's say, bodybuilders, gym accounts, etc.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time on my social media. I get bombarded by the same amount of, a big amount of pictures of men or women looking a certain way.
Yeah.
And of course, with time it becomes my reality.
Yeah.
So I'm basically constantly, bombarded by something that I'm not.
Yeah.
And how does that make how does that make me feel like shit?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always said to anyone, you want to know roughly where you are physically, go into any city center in the world, well, not in the world, but let's say in the UK.
Yeah.
Stay there for an hour, watch people, and I can tell you now, most people aren't fit. But obviously, if you go to the gym at 6 o'clock peak time on Monday, well, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fit people, but you're going to a place where fit people go to.
Yeah.
So obviously, yes, it's going to be full of fit people, for sure.
Yeah, I find that whole area fascinating, and I do kind of touch upon that when I'm delivering my courses as well to the students, because just like you rightly said, they live in their reality, which is almost a bubble, and they're under the belief that everyone must be, fit, and everyone has, ripped abs and the rest of it. But when you actually look at the stats, and I like what you said, go into a major town centre or a city centre and just spend an hour there and watch people, most people are unfit. And only 15% of the population has gym memberships.
Yeah, exactly.
What's everyone else doing?
And probably most of them don't even go to the gym.
Exactly. Yeah. Sign up for the 12-month membership and hope for the best. But
I remember 3-4 years ago I went to Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And it was a stag do, but it wasn't a stag do. It was just like a civilized holiday. It was basically a holiday.
Okay.
And the boys, I went with French guys, essentially, long story, I didn't really know him, but know them, whatever. And everybody was trying to train really, really hard for the holidays, for the pool parties, etc.
Yeah.
And when we went there, so we went to the encore pool party, it was Avicii doing something.
Okay.
Honestly, so obviously it was packed. Yeah. Honestly, I've seen I'd say less than 5% of men looked actually in shape.
Yeah.
Most people just look like normal guys.
Yeah.
But yet, the belief that everybody had, was, I need to look fit because everybody's going to look fit. Well, no, actually, they didn't.
Yeah.
So it's putting pressure, and then more importantly, what's fit anyway, compared to what, compared to who, There is a woman at my gym, I think she's got 1-point-something million followers, and she's obviously, I think she's sponsored by Gymshark, etc.
Right, okay.
Obviously, she's going to look slightly fitter than someone that trains 3 times per week at a gym. But then that person that trains 3 times at a gym might have kids. They might have a full-time job. They might, etc. That woman, that's her job.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's like you said, you kind of make your own reality. But I think what I liked in the book, there was an analogy made where when we go and watch Harry Potter or Star Wars, we know that that's a fantasy, and we kind of don't get caught up in it, and yet we know social media is a fantasy, and yet we still allow ourselves to get drawn into, like, it becomes a reality, and a lot of people go into it fairly unconscious. They're like, oh, everyone looks like this, maybe I need to, and it puts that pressure on. And I mean, I've seen an increase in anabolic steroid use in males, and when I used to be a manager of the gym, Virgin Active, when I think when you were snowboarding, I think it was. I used to always find syringes in the male changing rooms, and I promise you now, there weren't that many type 1 diabetics in the gym, so it must have been kind of, but it was a daily occurrence. I'd find a syringe. It was just phenomenal, and I've seen that recently in other gyms. I found syringes, and it's like, seriously, there's this real kind of emphasis on you must look this way, and I guess it can be positive and negative,
I think so. Number one, it's funny you say that, because I was having the conversation with a friend of mine, and I was saying, about boys on steroids, etc. And she said to me, "Oh, you speak like there's so many of them." And I'm like, because they are.
Yeah.
They are, and I've learned through personal trainers telling me.
Yeah.
If you look up, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always heard, if you look almost too in shape, too ripped, too big, there is a high chance you're on steroids.
There's a strong possibility,
and
strong. People listening can deny that all they want, but it takes a lot,
Yeah, and also usually, not always, but often, the behaviours within the gym.
Yes.
You sort of put the two together. So the guy might look ripped, but on top of that, he's always showing, with a vest, etc., walking a certain way, probably advertising himself on his social media. So usually it tends to kind of like go hand in hand, really. But one of the issue, is we are normalizing as a society, fake looks.
Yes.
And that, to me, is probably the biggest problem, because we are becoming objects. We are becoming things. The problem with social media is it doesn't matter. Like I said in the book, if you have 7 PhDs, it doesn't show. It doesn't matter if you're the nicest person. It does not show. It doesn't matter if you're extremely cultured. It doesn't show. Yeah. But if you have abs, it does show. If you have big boobs, that shows. If you have, a bum, whatever, that will show, but not. So unfortunately, people have clocked very, very quickly that, well, I could put, pictures of what I'm reading.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to care. On the other hand, if I bend over forward showing my ass to everyone, guess what? That's going to bring me some likes.
Yeah, millions, and
that's the, you look at the Kim Kardashian and stuff. I to me, it's like, well, like, if I'll give you an example. So, in my gym, there is a young girl going.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. So, long story short, I was training, and 2 guys were looking at a girl training, and one guy says, "Oh, boys, be careful, because that's my boss's daughter.
Right.
She's 16." And the guys are like, "Well, she looks like a woman." And you look at the girl, she only does basically already, if I may, over sexualized, basically. Already like cropped up and blah 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 blah. And the issue is not necessarily, and I'm taking a massive shortcut here. I'm making a big assumption, yes, but it's it's not necessarily that people are training to look a certain way. It's just that more and more people are almost primarily concentrating on that and nothing else.
Yeah.
So physically, you potentially get better, let's say, but mentally, you're not moving forward.
Yeah.
And I also do dating coaching, and I can't tell you the amount of people I've met in my life who tell me, oh, I went on a date with this guy or this girl. They look fantastic, but you can't have a conversation.
Right.
There is nothing happening. You know, and that's one of the thing. And so it's a mixture between one, yes, it's like we said, you know, it's not an issue to try and look better or good or whatever. But then you got to do all the stuff in your life, because as far as I'm concerned, you know, in France we say muscles. Do not put food in your plate unless, of course, you know, you work and you're sponsored and whatever. But and the second thing is, make sure that you work towards something that is almost, I wouldn't say natural, but natural. You know, like you said, you know, you don't need steroids to look better. You don't need to only do squats.
Yeah.
You know, to look. And I know, to me, most people, and again, I'm taking a big shortcut here. But most people, or most younger people, you know, are actually trained to look good. They don't train to feel good.
Yeah. I think that's a key point. You know, that I guess mental illness in the UK is, you know, it's got out of hand quite drastically. And yeah, people do train to kind of look good and not feel good. I mean, if you kind of search the top 10 fitness influencers on social media, I would say, and again, I'm going to take a massive leap with this, but I think I can back it up if I'm ever questioned. 2 of the top 10 bring something to the table, and when I mean bring something to the table, they've got they bring knowledge with them, they bring kind of practicality, but the rest of them, they are abs and bums. And when you look at their profiles, it's all abs and bums, and they get, you know, millions of likes, and it brings with it sponsorship. And I think the younger generation see that and they think, well, if that's all it takes, then I can get on that bandwagon. But there was something in the book, and it was a quote, and I think it was from an unknown source, but I really liked it because it really stuck with me. And it was, being famous on social media is like being rich in Monopoly.
Oh, 100%. No, of
love
course.
It. Absolutely love it.
And you know, and to me, I find it, you know, when you have such a core belief that when it goes against it, I just can't almost, it's almost like my brain cannot process it. You know, I can't understand why. I mean, I obviously understand it because I wrote the book, etc. But I find it so bizarre that, you know, I mean, I don't know for you, but, you know, on my Instagram, you know, you get sponsored accounts, people paying, and sometimes I click on them, you know, and all you see is pictures of a guy or a girl, you know, I don't know, on their car or on a sofa, and you think, what do you bring? You know, like, why would I even follow you? You don't, you know, like I don't need to follow a man or a girl, you know, but more importantly, they're paying for this, so that they get followers, you know, but for what? You know, again, of course, if you make money and stuff, it's a different story, and I could understand that. But most people don't. You know, I mean, the mass majority on Instagram do not make money. So essentially, they try to create this avatar, this online, you know, life, and obviously trying to be the, you know, the best version they can be online, and then it becomes escapism.
Yeah, definitely.
But I find it mind-boggling that, you know, people are putting so much time and effort just so that they can have a bunch of likes from random people. So then they can feel better about themselves. Well, you can pay for likes. I get a message daily saying, "Oh, we can get you so many likes," and I constantly think, "Why?" Like, listen, I cannot tell you. Even big people. I mean, like sort of famous people. I mean, I'm not gonna do names,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
not like literally a few days ago there was someone, I think it was 2 or 3 million, you know, a coach. The guy's a coach, but like more like a kind of like life coach, whatever. And you click on it and literally, I don't know, I'd say 3, 4, you know, followers every 10 is a bot follower.
Right. Wow.
It's easy to see, you know, it's usually either no pictures or just few,
Yeah.
you know, not much. And actually there was a story, I was
Yeah.
tagged in the story last week, I think it was, where a girl who I think has 2 million followers did not manage to sell 35 t-shirts.
Wow.
So I think it was, you know, when you get sponsored, you have to do certain things, whatever. I would not be surprised, and I might be wrong here, but I would not be surprised that a big chunk of those followers are obviously bot followers.
Yeah.
So on paper, you think 2 million, but potentially, I mean, I don't know, and I'm of course, I'm probably exaggerating
Yeah.
it, but who knows? Maybe out of 2 millions, you know, I don't know, 1.9 something millions are bot followers.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm exaggerating, but yeah.
But yeah, unfortunately, that's what it's come to. I mean, why do you think so many people want or need validation through social media? What do you think it is about it?
Well, I think it's the fact that, again, we spend too much time on it.
Right.
So that already is a problem because, you know, it's the same way that if I spend a lot of time, let's say, at the pub, I'll probably end up somehow needing some sort of validation coming from whoever's at the pub kind of thing, or at the gym or football, whatever. So I think that's the thing, because it's so easy to be on them, to spend time on them, to etc.
Yeah.
You know, it's I mean, you know, you could be anywhere and be on social media. So that's one thing, and as we said, it's too easy. You know, it's too, you know, all you got to do is put a cute picture or whatever, you know, and you're going to get likes.
Yeah.
You know, whereas in the real world, you know, for someone to, if you were going to transfer a like, let's say on social media to the real world, let's say the equivalent would be somebody who enjoys your company or etc. Well, that's more work. And number one, you actually need to meet those people to start with.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, when you could be sat on your sofa in somewhere in MK and get likes from Michael that lives in, I don't know, China.
Yeah.
That you've never met, you will never meet. And it you know, it's 4.3 billion likes every day on Instagram.
Wow.
Every single day.
Wow.
You know, so that tells us that it obviously doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
You know, but yet, as I said, you got most people who work overtime for just for likes, just for feel validated.
Yeah.
To feel validated, which again, because we spend too much time on them and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a strange one, because I think. I mean, Elon Musk said, you know, it's an extension. Our phones are an extension of who we are. But that again, that could be, you know, the positive or negative. It could be, you know, if you're addicted and all your validation comes through that, then, you know, it becomes that negative, I guess, you know. And I guess ultimately, and I experienced this through the workshops that I do, people just, you know, they want to feel happy, they want to feel wanted, you know, connected and a part of something. And I think social media has a way of distorting that view, or kind of appearing like it's the only way of doing it, I guess.
A lot of people think or thought that the book is against social media, but you read it and it's not. It's not against that at all. I use social media. You know, I think people should use social media, etc.
Yeah.
The problem is people misuse them.
Yes. Yeah.
And like I said, we basically, too many of us use social media to fill voids in our lives that social media were not created for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, for example, you were talking about connection. So, you know, social media, well, you could argue that, you know, it was created to connect with people, etc.
Yeah.
But not necessarily to actually feel connection.
Yeah. Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
to connecting with someone is one thing, but feeling connected to someone is a different story, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, I could be speaking to, I don't know, a girl, you know, online, you know, but there's a very different connection than if we were face to face, etc. And that's the problem. But when you dig a little bit, the same person who is actively looking for connections, etc., online, probably just does not have that in real life.
Yeah.
So then it's catch-22, isn't it? Because what do? Do you stop social media, which is providing some sort of, you know, illusion, connection, whatever.
Yeah.
Or illusion of connection, let's call it. And then you almost like, well, it's like stopping drugs, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then go out there and create that life that is missing. Join clubs, be part of something, you know, have a hobby, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You know, and most people, it's too scary. Because the reality, and that's what I say in the conclusion, you know, one of the reasons why social media can be such a problem is because we're bored.
Yeah.
Most people are bored. Most people don't, you know that. Most people don't have hobbies. Most people, you know, do not have true passions.
Yeah.
You know, most people are not in the jobs they want to be in. Most people, you know, do not look the way they want to look, and so on and so on and so on. So again, it's just then too easy to try and get escapism through social media.
Yeah.
Because
definitely.
you know, I've asked people before, if you are busy, let's say, well, okay, so I play ice hockey, for example.
Yeah.
Well, I'm telling you now, when I'm on the ice practicing, I can't be on my phone. It's just not gonna happen. I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, so you know, if let's say your hobby is, I don't know, you know, running, but same thing, it'd be quite tricky to be on social media while you run.
Yep.
But most people, as I said, you know, when I taught skiing and snowboarding part-time for years and years and years, same when I was at Bridge Airways, same way, you know, and I always ask people, what is your hobby? What is your passion? Oh, I'm again exaggerating, but most, I mean, 7, 8 out of 10 do not have, you know, a true passion, a true hobby.
Yeah.
Therefore, they don't really have something to look forward to, something to get excited about.
Yeah.
You know, and then what do? You get home from a job you might not like, you know, feeling a bit crap, blah blah blah. It's nothing to look forward to in the evening. There is a high chance you're gonna sit on your sofa on your social media. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. It's, I mean, it's a completely kind of fascinating area, and I guess in the book there was lots of things that were highlighted to me that I naturally question as a teacher, I guess. And you're talking about, you know, passion and hobby. There's and how people live their life. There was a question that I sometimes give to students, and bear in mind it's a personal training course, so they're in quite a lot of shock when they get this question, and it's simply called the deathbed question. So it sounds sinister, I know, but it's basically, imagine you're on your deathbed and your great-great-grandchild comes in, because you're like 120 or something. It comes in and she says, "Great-granddaddy, how shall I live my life?" You look to your left and death is standing there and says, "You've got 1 minute." And you've got 1 minute literally to explain to this small child exactly how they should live their life. And I get students to write it down. And I give them a minute. And I then get them to reflect on what they've written. And the point is, whatever they've written down is actually how they believe they should live their life. And the degree at which they're not living that by is the degree of uncertainty and unhappiness in their current life right now. And some people are in shock. Some people go, "No, this is how I live." But the ones that aren't normally just sit there and stare at the paper, because it's like this light bulb goes off.
Yeah.
And they suddenly realise, shit.
You know, it's funny you say that, because one of I will not call it a tool, but let's call it, for the sake of it, a tool that I use in coaching is this: ask people, what would you tell your kid?
Yeah, exactly that.
What would you tell your best friend?
Yeah.
If your best friend was in a crappy relationship for the last 3 years, what would you tell them?
Yeah.
And then you see people, well, I'll tell them to go, I'll tell them to do this, I'll tell them to do that. Well, that's basically what you need to do.
Yeah.
You know, basically, yeah.
It's like people really know the answers, but they're kind of seeking it. They're seeking that almost that validation of that answer because they may be uncertain or they may have low self-esteem or whatever it is. And I mean, I guess you could ask them, what do you want written on your tombstone as well? You know, really good, really good at paying your bills, or do you
know
want...
what? One of the when I did one of my course years and years ago, one of the exercise was if you were sat similar to the deathbed question, but if you were sat on a bench and you know you're basically really late in your years, you know, when you're really old, and then all your friends, all the people you've met, you know, come by for a quick goodbye chat. What would you like them to tell you? What would you like to be remembered for? You know, it's a similar thing. But as I said, most of us just lack true purpose. You know, we lack depth. We lack, you know, a real thing to, again, I know I said it, but look forward to, we're just becoming a society of living in the now. You know, quick escapism. You know, not really hard working and blah blah blah, and basically when you don't know where you're going, well, you have issues, aren't you? You'll be like jumping in your car and drive around with no real destination. It's tricky.
People are just not willing to work at stuff or fix things. Fear of failure, massive one. You know, even in the class setting or with clients before, or even in like in rehabilitation, you know, little clinics that I do, you know, it's okay to fail. You know, it's okay to fail, reflect on it, learn from it. You know, each, I guess, failure, if you want to use that word, is a learning experience. But people don't seem to get that or want that anymore.
But it hurts for a lot of people. It can be painful. But it's exactly as you said. You know, and again, I've said it when I used to teach, for example, against skiing, snowboarding, or etc. You know, you'll ask people. You know, what would a kid do if when they learn to walk and they've fallen a few times and say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. I've fallen a few times. I'm done. And people laugh. But that's basically the behaviour they're doing themselves. So I've tried once or twice, didn't work, but I stopped it. But you know, it's hard because, to be fair, you know, I think we do at the same time have mitigating circumstances, and I don't think, you know, that we are in a society where we promote, you know, kids to be who they really want to be, and we help them to learn about. Like, I remember when I was younger, you know, so my dad is an academic, etc. And when it was time to go to uni, I didn't go to uni, not because I couldn't or didn't want to per se, but I just didn't know what I would do at uni. You know, and I remember I was very good at history, geography, you know, a few different topics. I remember saying to my dad, but Dad, I don't want to be a geography teacher. And in my head, I did not even grasp that I could have, been a Middle East expert. I could have been. There's so many things you can do. But as a youngster, you don't really know. So obviously I'm 37. Maybe things are a little bit different now. But at the time, you know, you don't really, you know, the system does not really encourage you to really. Be who you want to be, and the jobs you want to do, and so then of course we live in a world of consumptions. So then, you know, you might start racking up some credit cards from very young, and then suddenly you have no choice. You got to work because you got to pay bills. So then, you know, retraining and stuff, it's possible, but it's tricky.
Definitely. So there's just a couple points that popped up from the book, which I think will be great for kind of, I guess, listeners to kind of go away and digest. You talk about kind of narcissism versus self-esteem. What would you say are the main differences?
self-esteem is healthy. Self-esteem is,
Yeah.
you know, how you feel about yourself. Are you in line with your values?
Yeah.
I mean, there's loads of definitions, but essentially, you know, how happy with how you look, etc.
Yeah.
But also one of the key components is you don't really need outside validation.
Yeah.
You know, you're just happy within yourself. Where narcissism, you know, it usually comes from a failure, a fear of failure, or from, you know, kind of almost from a weakness, essentially. You know, it's the main focus is yourself. You know, how you look to the outside world.
Yeah.
You know, essentially it comes from an insecurity.
Yeah.
You know, so again, it's trying to fill a gap. You know, you don't, you know, self-esteem is, you know, I don't know. I'm going for dinner and I'm just wearing a suit or dress or whatever.
Yeah.
And, oh, wow, you know, you're looking at yourself and quite happy in your own skin and the way you look.
Yeah.
Narcissism could be, you know, oh, I look so good, I need to share it to the world. So I get all the likes, etc.
Yeah.
You know, and that's actually one of the things I talk about when it comes to selfies.
Yeah.
You know, I've got no problem with selfies at all.
Yeah.
The issue becomes, why do you put the selfies?
Yeah.
Who do you put it for? And with what in mind?
Yeah.
You know, I was, when was it? A few days ago. You know, someone on my Facebook basically saying that they had such a bad day, and guess what? In bed taking a selfie.
Yeah.
If you really want to tell people you had a bad day, you don't need to put a selfie in bed. Let's be real here, you know.
Indeed. Yeah.
You know, and that, I think that again, just more definitive, but that essentially that's the difference. Narcissism is really, you know, like you are the center of the universe. That you feel your own image and who you are is just yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember, obviously, I won't mention any names, but I guess in my teaching career, so the teaching side of kind of, you know, teaching the personal training qualifications and such, there was a guy that I had quite a while ago, and for me, he was the epitome of kind of narcissistic behaviour. You know, he's got millions of followers on social media. By all accounts, his body was ripped, good-looking guy, but there was a real, I guess, sadness is the word I would use to describe it. There's a real kind of sadness in everything that he did. And I remember later years I bumped into him and he said, you know, when I was in your class, you know, I was on steroids, right? And I'm like, no, you know, like it was brand new information to me. I'm like, yeah, I said, and I remember speaking to him for about a good, 45, 60 minutes, and we sat down. I said, I know you were. And he's like, how did you know? I said, well, no one on the planet is as muscular as you 24/7, on the diet that you were on and all the things that you were doing. I said, when we go into the gym, you'd spend most of the time taking pictures of yourself. I said, where was the training? And he was like, I train at these times. I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I've seen you train, and it's maybe one set of bench press and then maybe 10 sets of selfies, and I just found it. He was shocked that I knew all this. And then I guess inadvertently made him really insecure, because it was like, who else knows?
Yeah, of course.
And in my head, I just wanted to say, well, probably everyone that's even remotely self-conscious. But I couldn't go there with him. He was devastated. Like, he was distraught. And I was like, you don't need to be. I said, you're a beautiful looking guy by every definition. I said, you don't need to be. But it's, that's my belief, but he believes something different.
So you see, this is the perfect example. So high self-esteem will be, I've got a great body.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's okay. I'm happy with it.
Yeah.
Narcissism will be, I need to show the body to the world.
Yes.
You know, so or let's say on a night out, high self-esteem is potentially you got a great body because you work hard underneath your shirt and your jacket.
Yeah.
Narcissism might be is minus 10 degrees outside, but I've got a V-neck collar t-shirt.
Yeah.
So everybody sees my you see that for example is an example, you know, a good example of the difference between the two.
Indeed.
But the you know, earlier we're talking about people trying to look good instead of feeling good, etc. And that is the issue. Is many because you obviously, you're a PT, you know how it works. You can identify, you know, people on steroids, etc. But unfortunately, many people can't. If you let's say you're 18 years old and you follow this guy and you don't really know about the gym, you then think, oh my God, like look at this guy, he looks amazing, and then even if you train hard, unless you go on steroids, you will never look the way he does. Never.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's I've watched a few videos of guys actually on naming and shaming, you know, fitness people on YouTube and saying, you know, this guy does this, those are fake plates.
Yeah.
You know, blah 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 blah. And one of the guys said, I don't mind people being on steroids. But you got to tell people, you cannot just say, oh yeah, I'm eating like 5 meals a day and drinking properly, and here's me with my body.
Yeah.
That you can't, when you can, but you should not do that.
Yeah, it's just about being, first of all, honest with yourself, and then with others. But you know, I guess we're a product of the stories that we tell ourselves, and we then justify those stories to ourselves. You know, and it's almost like a circle that goes round in our heads. But yeah, you know, it's kind of, people don't really like full disclosure, but you know, because again, it's that fear of failure. Well, if everyone knows that this is what I'm doing, then I'm going to be seen as a fake, you know, and whatever it may be. But
the problem is, if let's say you're on steroids and you're advertising yourself as clean eating, whatever, and you do not mention you're a fake.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem. And like I say in the book, the problem is you can't lie to others without lying to yourself.
Yeah.
So you know, you might pat yourself on the belly or on the abs in the evening. Ha, I've got so many followers, whatever. But deep down, you're lying to yourself.
Yeah.
You know deep down when you go to bed that it's fake.
Yeah.
Take the steroids away. You do not look like you do. Simple.
Yeah. Exactly.
You know, so, and then what are you gonna do? You're 25 years old. You're already on steroids. You're already, you know, creating this, you know, whatever story and an image of yourself. What are you gonna do? You're gonna do that all your life? What are you gonna do when you're 45 years old? Yeah. You know, if your main pride in your life is your body and aesthetics, you have a real problem. One, because they're always going to be better looking, better in a better shape, in better blah blah blah. Two, because there'll be younger people. Yeah. And three, because he'll never stop. Yeah. He will never stop. You know, if you, let's say, built a business on looks on your Instagram and you sponsored, etc. Well, guess what? When you're gonna get to, I don't know, 30 plus something, well, the same sponsors will say, well, thank you, but realistically, we're gonna, you know, the same you but younger. Yeah. So, you know, and it's a little bit like the same with people who go for looks in relationship, because I've always said, if you go, let's say, for someone that is looking for, let's say, a trophy girlfriend. Yeah. You know, well, what do you think is going to happen? If that's why they're with you for, you know, mainly because of your looks. Yeah. They're going to replace you at some point. Of course they are. If the main drive is aesthetics, well, you know, in a few years' time, there'll be a younger version of yourself. Yeah. Yeah. You know, and again, that's not me making this up. How many stories have I heard of you know, at first, you know, the girl or the boy is me, you know, ticking the boxes, and fast forward a few years, when you've been with the same person for a few years, you know, then what do? Well, you go for a younger version, or better looking, or bigger breast, or bigger abs, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing kind of looking at people's motivation. I mean, like I've had many clients that they may, female clients primarily, they may say, I want to lose weight. And I've had so many clients where it's actually come down to, and I've asked them, what do you want? And most of them are stumped because, as it turns out, I want to lose weight because my husband wants me to lose weight, or my doctor said I need to lose weight. And just this morning, I had a group of people. So I was delivering like a diabetes prevention workshop, and I had a group of people, and we're talking about weight management. And I just posed the question to them. I've never actually heard stone cold silence from like 20 people before. But it was a case of, okay, so we're going to talk about weight management, and everyone's saying they want to lose weight, but what do you want? What do you want? Yeah, because they came around. One gentleman said, my doctor said I need to lose weight. And again, someone turned around and said that it's a typical story I've heard many times. My husband or my wife wants me to lose weight. And I said, what do you want? And they were shocked that I'd even asked the question. Something I found so simple, but they were just like, I actually don't know. And I was like, okay, well, that's probably where we begin. Okay, is you tell me what you want. And I just find that fascinating, that again, even on that, or even away from social media, the influence is there, from the kind of judgment and validation of others affecting our, I guess, decisions that we think we need to make, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Yeah, I just find it fascinating, in all honesty. I really do.
Most people. Sorry, quickly. Again, most people, if they could, would probably not train.
Yes. Yeah.
Most people would probably be happy to be a little bit overweight and stuff. No, obviously not too much, but a little bit overweight. Yeah. But again, it's so much pressure from everywhere.
Yeah.
That suddenly so many feel that they should have a certain body.
Yeah.
How many people do we know? I need to train hard. I'm going on holiday in a few weeks or in a few months, for example.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. I guess I've got just one more kind of question stroke topic. I found, to be honest, out of the whole book, and I want to make clear, the book is awesome, and it's a real objective view of social media and mental health. And there's a lot of truths in that. I want to be clear to people listening. There's a lot of truths, and you'll read it or you'll listen to it on audiobook, and you'll think, oh shit, that's me. But there was an area towards, I think, the latter end of the book, and it was to do with sexualization and pornography. And I must admit, the stats on the pornography, I think there was like 16. I was blown away, in all honesty, because you mentioned kind of where do most of the over sexualization and our selfies and stuff comes from, and you talk about the sex industry and pornography. Did you kind of stumble across that by accident, or is that something you kind of knew in the back of your mind? Because it's a whole chapter on it.
No, so chapter 10, which is over sexualization, is basically what was one also of the main reason why I wrote the book.
Okay.
Because I was seeing more and more. So women, and that's not me saying, women use more social media than men. Yeah. Apart of YouTube, where it's more men than women.
Right. Okay.
And I could, I was, when I was slightly younger, I would go out a lot, etc. And I was almost like shocked with how would people dress and stuff. And same with social media. We talked about earlier about selfies and selfies in bed and the bomb and all those things. Yeah. And something that because I said I also do dating coaching is I was starting to realize I think many women do not because it's easy. It's easy to make the mistake, but do not understand that when you look seriously over sexualized, you're gonna bring the wrong kind of attention.
Yeah.
You know, so again, remember, we creature, normal creature, we need validation. It's nice to be liked, and so on and so on and so on. So on how many occasions, have I heard, people saying, well, yeah, but if I go, if I go out in jeans and a shirt, well, I'm not gonna get the same kind of attention that if I go out with a very short, tight dress.
Yeah.
True, but the problem is you then attract the wrong kind of people. So what I really wanted to do with the chapter 10 is to explain that, again, I'm making a shortcut here, but obviously you saw the stats. Yeah. Most men watch porn.
Yeah.
A lot of them watch a lot of porn. We're not talking, is every second is 30 million new viewers on porn.
Yeah, amazing.
Worldwide, you
Wow.
saw the stats is if and I mean we could start with stats, but the point is just a lot. So you have men who are constantly looking at a certain type of women, looking a certain way, because again, if you look at the sex industry, not always, but often, women will dress a certain way. We look a certain way. Yeah. Anything from, massive fake boobs and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So then you have men that have, a brain that is trained towards a certain stimuli, a certain trigger. Yeah. And essentially what I was trying to explain is, unfortunately, it shouldn't be that way whatsoever. But then as a woman, if you look that way, you basically, without realizing it, you trigger, that sort of stimuli or idea or whatever that the guy has when it comes to sex. Yeah. Because it's always on porn. Yeah. So then it's tricky because, I've heard plenty of women saying, but by the way, it works both ways. Yeah. I know plenty of guys who look, with, again, let's say the tattoos and the abs and the this and the that somehow wants a relationship, but they keep getting girls that just want sex. Yeah. It works in both, in both ways. Yeah. But the issue is then, we then find the same people saying, well, I don't understand, I keep meeting the wrong kind of guys. Yeah. I don't understand, I'm always, I don't know, we saw that in the street and blah, 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 blah. And again, I'm certainly not saying that's right. I'm certainly not saying that women should, nothing. That's not what I'm saying. I was trying to explain, give an insight as to why, one of the reason why this is happening. Yeah. I get that. So it's every woman's right and it's every male's right to look and dress however they want to dress, and whatever floats their boat. That's not what it's about. It's about understanding why something is happening. Is that exactly? It's awareness. The whole point of the book is to be aware. Yeah. It's the thing about over-sexualization was saying to you, because many women don't know that. You say, look, girls, be careful. Many men are obsessed with porn. Yeah. And they're obsessed over a certain type of look, of looks. And yes, if you are gonna sort of go that way, which, by the way, a lot of the time is mainly for attention. Yeah. Then yes, unfortunately, you are gonna get a certain type of like I said, attention, and people will have different motives, and so on. And also the main reason why I was writing, I wrote this chapter was because 5 years ago, when social media, not started, but in the early stages, you putting a picture of you and your Starbucks cups was enough. Yeah. That would create enough attention. But unfortunately, as we said, we got more and more people on social media putting more and more revealing pictures, bigger things, bigger cars, etc. So people have clocked that they have to up their games if they want the same amount of likes, etc.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I've seen, and I'll invite anyone almost to do the experience. You go on, because I've done it, of course, before writing the book, where I've been on people's social media and go like years and years and years ago, and you see slowly how, let's say the pictures would become more and more sexual.
Yeah.
How they would show more and more and more and more. All the way to, I don't know, pictures in a thong.
Yeah.
And, and whatever. All that essentially then bring it back down to just for attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was the idea of the book, yeah.
Yeah, I think in my head I was smiling because what you just said, I think mine's the opposite. I mean, as I've got older, it started off, vests and stuff because when I was younger, I used to think, oh yeah, I'm quite muscular. And I think as I've got older, there's more and more clothing on my pictures.
I think it's the same to me. Like I said, of course, listen, I used to work for BA, so yes, I had selfies. Or even picture doing the flag in Brazil or whatever. Obviously, yes.
Yeah.
Although again, it's the frequency. If you put selfie every so often, even in a vest, that's not an issue. If you put gym progress picture, but it's when you put it again and again and again and then few days, that's the issue. But I think the good thing with the biggest feedback I've had with the book from people reading is, like you said earlier, oh wow, I'm doing those things, or oh wow, I didn't realize I was doing those things. And then suddenly you once you realize that again, likes don't really matter, etc., it's just liberating.
Yeah.
Because you think, I don't need to post every 2 minutes. I don't, and also no one cares, to tell you the truth. Like you're having dinner on a Friday night in flipping Nando's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's people because so much content out there, and we follow so many accounts.
Yeah.
Like we said, your picture of you having a meal in Nando's. If you put it because you're having a great time with your friend, it's not an issue. Yeah. But if you put it again for attention and validation and to try and show people that you have a life, that's an issue. Yeah,
definitely. Wow, it's been fantastic to talk about your journey and your book. Thank you for entertaining my interview.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate it. And for the listeners, please go and buy the Magpie Effect. Where can people get the book from?
Mainly Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah, Amazon. So paperback, audiobook, and ebook.
Yeah. So that's where I got it from. I bought I think I bought Kindle or the paperback version first of all, but because of a lot of commuting, I was saying to Damien before, I bought the audiobook. The audiobook is fantastic. He chose the narrator for the book perfectly. Loved it. I didn't say I've listened to it twice, to be fair. Really easy to digest book, but very objective, a lot of truths, fascinating book. I can't recommend it enough.
I think, and that's why the subtitle is a guide, because, social media did not come with a guide. So many of us are just using it without really knowing.
Yeah.
It's just been normalized. And foolishly, I gotta say, when I wrote the book and published it, in my head I was thinking, 2.2 billion people on Facebook, for example. So everybody on social media are probably going to think, you know what, I'm on social media. I use it a lot. My kids might be, my girlfriend might be. Let me read it to see where I'm at.
Yeah.
And at worst, I'm not learning anything. At best, I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't know I was doing that. I didn't know,
Yeah.
But of course, most people, as we said, don't think they have a problem.
Yes. Yeah,
so
definitely.
therefore, most people don't think they need to read the book.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and I don't include me in what I'm about to say, just in case, the missus is listening, but the thing on micro-cheating, there's a section on micro-cheating which was fascinating because it was a new concept, never heard of it, but I know a lot of people who do it who may not know what they're doing.
Last night I was looking for something on social media, and a friend of mine married 2 kids.
Yep.
Liking dozens of pictures of half-naked women on social media.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and like I say in the book, is there something that you would do face to face when you know your
Yeah.
wife is next to you? Would you go on the beach to someone and say, "Oh wow, you look amazing"?
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't. But why do you do it on social media?
Yeah. What makes it acceptable? Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem.
Wow. Well, it's been absolutely fascinating to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Where can people, on that note, where can people find you on social media?
Well, Damien Massias.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you're on Instagram.
Which is hard. It's hard. Yeah, it's hard because obviously I kind of need to do it, you know, for the business, etc. But you know, trust me, I find it difficult to actually do it.
Yeah, me too. I'm on social media, and it has just become more businessy orientated with the podcast and with the academy. But needs must. It's where everyone hangs out. It's where all the cool kids are, apparently. So
yeah, exactly.
there you go.
Exactly.
So yeah, thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the One Zen Fitness Academy podcast. Make sure that you subscribe. Please give us a 5-star review. And please, if it's not too much trouble, write review. For more information, go to www.onezenacademy.com for all your fitness, wellness, and health needs. Have a fantastic day. Thank you.